charming, brilliant, a master of disguise. That's the serial killer Hollywood sells us. Isn't it? This captivating anti-hero, always 3 steps ahead of the police, operating from some high-tech lair filled with intricate maps and manifestos. We see it in characters like Hannibal Lecter, or the television masterminds who play a thrilling game of cat and mouse with detectives, leaving behind clever riddles and philosophical clues. But the truth? The truth is far more disturbing and, frankly, pathetic. The Hollywood version is a carefully constructed illusion, a story we're told to make the horror digestible. Today, we're tearing down 3 of the biggest lies you've been sold about the minds of modern murderers. And trust me, the reality is something you won't see in a blockbuster film, because behind the mask of the monster, there's often something frighteningly mundane. And that's what makes it truly terrifying. #### lie number 1. The evil genius. Alright, let's start with the big one. Lie number 1. The evil genius. Hollywood is obsessed with the idea of the serial killer as a figure of near-superhuman intelligence. A criminal mastermind, a philosopher of chaos who consistently outsmarts everyone in the room. It makes for a great story, but it's almost entirely fiction. Here's the reality check. Most real-life serial killers are not geniuses. In fact, studies show the average IQ of a serial killer hovers around 95, which is squarely in the normal range. One comprehensive study of over 200 subjects found a median IQ of just 89. So, if they aren't brilliant, how do they get away with it for so long? The answer is usually a grim cocktail of luck, disorganized police work, and the horrifyingly simple fact that they target vulnerable people, individuals on the fringes of society who might not be missed right away. Their actual skill isn't intellect. It's a relentless obsession combined with a psychopathic ability to function without a conscience. A far more common profile isn't the slick mastermind, but the disorganized, impulsive killer. A perfect and chilling example is Gerard Schaefer. He wasn't a criminal genius. He was a sheriff's deputy in Florida who used his badge to lure and control his victims. Known as the killer cop, he didn't have some brilliant, intricate plan. He was a man driven by monstrous deviance who exploited the very trust his community placed in him. His methods were brutal and direct, relying on his authority, not his intellect. Even the more organized killers rarely fit the genius mold. Their intelligence is better described as a kind of low-level, predatory cunning, not some lofty intellectual power. They are often skilled at manipulation and building a normal-looking facade, but that's a function of their psychopathy, their superficial charm and total lack of empathy, not a high IQ. The epic battle of wits between a brilliant detective and a killer is a fantastic story, but it almost never happens. The real hunt isn't for a supervillain. It's for someone average, someone you wouldn't look at twice. And their greatest skill? Blending in. Which brings us perfectly to lie number 2. #### lie number 2. The creepy loner. This leads us directly to lie number 2. The creepy loner. You know the stereotype. The strange recluse in the dilapidated house at the end of the road, surrounded by dusty maps and newspaper clippings about his own crimes. While some killers, like the infamous Ed Gein, were indeed isolated loners, he's the exception that proves the rule. More often, the truth is the exact, terrifying opposite. Many of history's most prolific serial killers weren't hiding from the world at all. They were our neighbors, our colleagues, and even our family members. The FBI's own behavioral analysis unit states, serial murderers often seem normal, have families and/or a steady job. They are absolute masters of compartmentalization, able to build a wall between their violent fantasies and their public-facing selves. There is no better or more terrifying example of this than Dennis Rader, the BTK killer, which stands for bind, torture, kill. For over 30 years, Rader terrorized Wichita, Kansas, murdering 10 people while living a picture-perfect suburban life. Rader was a husband and a father of 2. He was a Boy Scout troop leader. He was the president of his local church council. By day, he worked as a city compliance officer, a petty official known mostly for being annoyingly strict about the length of people's grass. Think about the chilling duality of that. No one in his life suspected this devoted family man, this pillar of the community, was secretly breaking into homes to torture and murder people. He even used his job at ADT Security in the 1970s to learn about alarm systems, sometimes installing them for people who were terrified of the very man they had just invited into their house. His ability to maintain this mask wasn't because he was a recluse. It was because he was deeply embedded in society, using his normality as the perfect camouflage. The monster isn't always hiding in the shadows. Sometimes he's smiling at you from the church directory. If you're finding this breakdown of criminal psychology as fascinating as I do, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We believe the truth is always more compelling than the fiction, and you won't want to miss our next investigation. Lie number 3. The monster of pure evil. Okay, our third and final lie is perhaps the one we tell ourselves to sleep at night. That serial killers are simply monsters. That they are born of pure, unadulterated evil, a force totally separate from the rest of us. It's an easy narrative because it draws a clean, comfortable line between us and them. But modern forensic psychology completely erases that line. Serial killing is almost never about pure evil. It's better understood as a biopsychosocial phenomenon, a fancy way of saying it's a perfect storm of disastrous factors. As one expert put it, for a person to become a serial killer, many things have to go wrong. This includes a horrifying cocktail of genetic predispositions, potential brain abnormalities, and, most critically, severe and prolonged childhood trauma. This is the difficult truth to swallow. Monsters are almost never born. They are made, often forged through years of unspeakable abuse. Research from countless sources consistently shows a powerful link between violent crime and a history of profound physical, psychological, or sexual abuse in childhood. A tragic, gut-wrenching example is Aileen Wuornos, who killed 7 men in Florida. The media painted her as a man-hating monster, a simple villain. But her life story is a catalog of relentless, unimaginable trauma. Her father was a convicted child molester who died by suicide in prison before she was born. Her mother abandoned her as a toddler. She was raised by alcoholic grandparents and claimed she was physically and sexually abused by her grandfather from a young age. After becoming pregnant from a rape by a family friend, she was forced to give up her baby and was kicked out of her home at just 15 years old. Her life spiraled into a desperate struggle for survival marked by homelessness, addiction, and sex work, where the abuse she suffered as a child was repeated by countless others. Many experts believe her eventual violent rampage was a deeply distorted and horrific response to a lifetime of being victimized and feeling utterly powerless. Now, let's be crystal clear. This context does not excuse her crimes. Her actions were horrific, but it provides a critical understanding that the pure evil narrative completely ignores. Her rage wasn't born in a vacuum. It was forged in the fire of unimaginable human suffering. The scariest truth isn't that inhuman monsters exist. It's that they are human, and their paths to violence are often carved by very human failures. The charismatic evil genius, the creepy, isolated loner, the inhuman monster. These are the stories Hollywood loves to tell. And why wouldn't they? They're simple, they're dramatic, and most importantly, they keep the real darkness at a safe, fictional distance. But the truth isn't a movie. It's complex, it's messy, and it's much closer to home than we'd like to admit. The reality is often an average person with a broken mind. A person who isn't a recluse but is hidden in plain sight behind a mask of absolute normality. And a person whose violence is not the product of some cosmic, otherworldly evil, but a horrifying, and sometimes predictable outcome of trauma and profound psychological damage. The fiction is entertaining, but the reality is a chilling reminder that the capacity for these acts doesn't come from another world. It comes from the darkest corners of our own. What other Hollywood myths about crime drive you crazy? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to read your thoughts. And if you want to keep exploring the intersection of psychology and true crime, check out the video on your screen right now. Thanks for watching.